Deputy Harris? Daryl Booth. Hope you like flying. I never flew a fugitive before.
Government witness, not a fugitive.
Ready to go?
Is it always this bumpy?
You get used to it. Moretti's very disappointed in you, and he wants you dead.
Oh, shit.
There's a certain kind of fear that doesn't rely on monsters, jump scares, or loud explosions. It's the fear that comes from silence, from the space between two people who don't trust each other, from being trapped, not by walls, but by truth. Mel Gibson's Flight Risk 2025 captures that kind of fear perfectly. It's not a blockbuster built on spectacle. It's a contained thriller that relies on tension, emotion, and human fragility. 3 men board a plane, a pilot, a US Marshal, and a fugitive. But as the flight continues, we begin to realize that the greatest danger isn't outside the plane, it's inside. Flight Risk is a slow-burn psychological thriller, one that studies guilt, control, and the thin line between justice and revenge. In this review, we're going to explore how Mel Gibson uses space, silence, and subtle human behavior to build one of the most suffocating atmospheres of 2025, all without revealing key plot twists. This is not a story about good and evil. It's about people, flawed, fragile, and desperate to survive when their pasts finally catch up to them. Welcome to Flight Risk 2025, a film that proves you don't need to crash a plane to show what falling apart really looks like. The story of Flight Risk begins quietly, with a plane, a mission, and 3 men who share only one thing in common. They're all pretending to be in control. Mel Gibson wastes no time with spectacle. There's no grand airport sequence, no crowded terminal, just the simplicity of a small aircraft waiting to take off, and the weight of unspoken tension that fills the air before the engines even start. We meet the pilot, steady, reserved, a man of routine. His face says little, but his silence speaks volumes. Then there's the US Marshal, confident, authoritative, almost too sure of himself. And finally, the fugitive, calm, composed, and unsettlingly aware of his surroundings. It's a setup so minimal, it feels theatrical, almost like a stage play in the sky. But that's exactly where the power lies. Every word feels deliberate. Every glance carries meaning, and every second of quiet seems to pull the audience closer to something we can't quite name yet. From the very first moments, you understand that this isn't a story about flight, it's about confinement. The plane isn't just a vehicle, it's a prison of truth, forcing each man to face what he's been avoiding. Gibson's direction creates an atmosphere of unease, not through chaos, but through stillness. The engine's hum replaces the soundtrack. The flicker of cockpit lights replaces dialogue, and the audience is left listening to silence that somehow feels louder than any scream. You start to feel it, the pressure, the claustrophobia, the weight of being trapped 20,000 feet in the air with people you can't fully trust, and that's where Flight Risk begins to pull you in. It's not about the plot unfolding quickly. It's about time slowing down, long enough for tension to seep into every line, every movement, and every choice. That's the brilliance of Flight Risk's opening. It doesn't ask you to rush. It dares you to wait. Mel Gibson has always been a director who understands intensity, not the loud, chaotic kind that fills the screen with explosions, but the quiet, internal kind that lives beneath the surface. In Flight Risk, he takes that philosophy to its purest form. There are no large sets, no armies, no crowd scenes, just 3 men, a cockpit, and the endless sky. It's a minimalist setup, yet Gibson uses it to explore something deeply human: fear, morality, and the illusion of control. The film's power doesn't come from its plot twists, it comes from its patience. Every shot feels intentional. The camera never rushes to show you what's next. Instead, it lingers, on faces, on silence, on the rhythm of breathing. You can almost feel the tension building with each passing second. The flicker of cockpit lights replaces dialogue, and the audience is left listening to silence that somehow feels louder than any scream. You start to feel it, the pressure, the claustrophobia, the weight of being trapped 20,000 feet in the air with people you can't fully trust, and that's where Flight Risk begins to pull you in. It's not about the plot unfolding quickly. It's about time slowing down, long enough for tension to seep into every line, every movement, and every choice. That's the brilliance of Flight Risk's opening. It doesn't ask you to rush. It dares you to wait. Mel Gibson has always been a director who understands intensity, not the loud, chaotic kind that fills the screen with explosions, but the quiet, internal kind that lives beneath the surface. In Flight Risk, he takes that philosophy to its purest form. There are no large sets, no armies, no crowd scenes, just 3 men, a cockpit, and the endless sky. It's a minimalist setup, yet Gibson uses it to explore something deeply human: fear, morality, and the illusion of control. The film's power doesn't come from its plot twists, it comes from its patience. Every shot feels intentional. The camera never rushes to show you what's next. Instead, it lingers, on faces, on silence, on the rhythm of breathing. You can almost feel the tension building with each passing second.
Beneath its simple plot, Flight Risk is not just a thriller. It's a story about truth and how far people will go to avoid facing it. Every character in this film carries something they can't let go of: regret, fear, guilt. The plane becomes more than a machine. It becomes a symbol, a confined space hurtling forward, forcing each man to confront the past he's been trying to outrun. At 20,000 feet, there are no distractions, no escape, no noise to hide behind, just the sound of engines and the quiet weight of conscience. That's where Mel Gibson's storytelling brilliance truly shines. He's not interested in villains and heroes. He's interested in men pretending to be both. Men who wear masks of authority, justice, or composure, only to reveal, little by little, that they're just as flawed, just as lost, as the ones they judge. It's a movie about the danger of control and the illusion that we ever had it. Each character believes he's the one steering the flight, but the truth is, no one really is. That idea, the loss of control, mirrors something deeply human. We all like to believe we're the pilots of our own lives, that we know where we're heading, that our plans are enough to keep us safe. But Flight Risk quietly reminds us, the skies have their own rules.
Even the title itself carries a double meaning. A flight risk isn't just someone who might escape. It's someone running from something they can't fix. That's what this film explores, not the fear of dying, but the fear of being found out. The storm outside mirrors the storm within. Every flash of lightning feels like a confession. Every shadow across the cockpit feels like a memory trying to break through. And through it all, Gibson crafts a quiet spiritual tension, not religious, but moral. A kind of invisible judgment that hangs over every word and every silence. It's not about whether someone will survive. It's about whether they'll forgive themselves. That's what makes Flight Risk more than a thriller. It's a story about being trapped, not by walls or handcuffs, but by the weight of who you've become. It's about realizing that sometimes the hardest escape isn't from a plane, it's from yourself. By the time Flight Risk reaches its final act, you begin to realize this isn't a story about crime or punishment. It's a story about consequence. Every moment, every word, every silence throughout the film has been leading to this quiet reckoning. No explosions, no chase scenes, just truth, raw, painful, and unavoidable. Gibson crafts the ending not as a spectacle, but as a confession. It's not designed to shock you. It's designed to stay with you, and it does. Because what happens in those final moments isn't about who wins or who loses. It's about who finally lets go. The brilliance of this ending lies in its restraint. It doesn't hand you closure on a silver platter. It invites you to feel it, to sit with the discomfort, to question your own judgments, to wonder what you would have done at 20,000 feet. It's hauntingly poetic, the kind of ending that follows you long after the credits roll. You don't walk away thinking about the plane. You walk away thinking about the people, about guilt, about redemption, about how thin the line really is between justice and survival. And that's where Flight Risk truly succeeds. It's not trying to entertain you. It's trying to unsettle you, to make you confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes good men do terrible things, and terrible men have reasons we'll never fully understand. But there's something deeply human in that. Something that reminds us that every person carries a storm inside them. Some hide it better than others, but in the end, the sky always finds a way to reveal what's beneath the clouds. When the credits roll, you won't be cheering. You'll be thinking. And that's the mark of a film that's not just watched, it's felt. Flight Risk isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It's honest. And sometimes, that's far more powerful. So, what's the final verdict on Flight Risk? It's not a perfect film, and it's not trying to be. It's a film that asks you to slow down, to listen, and to feel. In a world filled with high-speed action movies and visual overload, Flight Risk dares to be quiet. It dares to make you uncomfortable. It replaces chaos with conscience and explosions with emotion. Mel Gibson's direction reminds us that real tension doesn't come from noise but from silence. His storytelling here feels mature, stripped down, and deeply intentional. The performances are gripping because they're real. 3 men, 3 versions of truth, trapped in one impossible situation. And through them, we see reflections of ourselves. The choices we make, the guilt we hide, and the moments when control is nothing more than an illusion. Flight Risk isn't a movie for everyone. It's not for those looking for constant action or easy answers. It's for viewers who appreciate tension built through storytelling, who value meaning over motion. If you're a fan of psychological thrillers that make you think as much as they make you feel, this is one you shouldn't skip. Personally, I give Flight Risk a solid 8 out of 10. Not for its perfection, but for its purpose. It's rare to see a film that speaks softly yet hits this hard. And when a movie ends, and you find yourself you've just watched something special. So, what did you think of Flight Risk? Did it surprise you, or did you see the ending coming? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this review, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep film breakdowns, and don't forget to share this with someone who loves a good psychological thriller. And this has been my review of Flight Risk, A Quiet Storm Above the Clouds.